Hello and welcome to Talk Leadership with Cedrick. Everybody needs a little TLC. Hey guys, it's amazing. I'm going to do my introduction, my normal monologue, but we're sitting here. I'm interviewing Taylor Watts, and you know what? I didn't hit the go live button, so we are live now, folks. So Talk Leadership with Cedrick is where we focus on leadership and personal growth with business leaders, educators, and local thought leaders. Our goal is to introduce our audience to leaders who are making an impact with innovative ideas. Our guiding leadership principle is the law of contribution, which says growing yourself enables you to grow others. So you can't give what you don't have. So first you must grow yourself in order to grow others. So we believe that outstanding leaders like yourself will help us help others. So tonight we have another dynamic leader with us, and that's Miss Taylor Watts. Well, hello, Taylor, and welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great for the second time, right? So
yeah.
let me do a proper introduction of Taylor Watts, like you guys know I do every week. So Taylor Watts is a senior attending the University of Missouri, Kansas City, where she is pursuing a degree in psychology with a minor in chemistry. Taylor is also the founder of the Peck Pull-Up Project, in which we're going to be discussing tonight, where she advocates for more dialogue around racism, race, and other forms of discriminatory practices at her alma mater, Raymore Peculiar High School, and that school district. So I'm excited to have Taylor here tonight, and we have with us, folks, a Gen Zer. So it's always great to speak to the younger generation, and she's doing some powerful stuff. So Taylor, I'm going to let you start all over again. Tell the audience about your life's journey so far.
Okay, yeah. So I was born and raised in the Kansas City, Missouri area, and majority of my life I lived about 30 minutes down the road in Raymore, where I went to, where the community was a predominantly white community, and I lived there with my brother, my two younger brothers, and my parents, and I've been in the school district for about 12 years up until I graduated in 2017. And currently I am now a senior at, as you said, at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, with pursuing a degree in psychology with a minor in chemistry.
Well, that's awesome, by the way, psychology, you're going to get inside everybody's mind to see what they're thinking, right? Mm-hmm. And then with clinical chemistry,
yes,
you can do a whole lot of things. So I'm looking forward to what do you want to do once you graduate?
I'm thinking about going to graduate school or going to PA school to pursue a career with an emphasis in psychiatry.
Okay, awesome. So she wants to be a physician assistant, which is a awesome job to have. So Taylor, tell us about some of your big accomplishments so far.
So far, after I graduated high school, I went to community college where I spent 2 years there and got my associate's degree. So that was really big, one of my biggest achievements so far. And another one was making the Peck Pull-Up Project, because it prompted me to put myself a little bit more out there than what I usually would. And in another accomplishment that I have, which is some people don't always follow through with this one, but mine was New Year's resolutions. One of my New Year's resolutions was to work through personal finance. And I feel like I've gotten a better grasp on it now than I did in the past couple of years.
Okay. All right. Well, then getting a hold of your personal finance is awesome. Since 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and if you're getting a jump on it now before you have a whole lot of bills and working all the time that you're going to be ahead of the curve. So that's awesome. So I'm going to put in here what you're discussing so that can pop up on the screen here. Put that there. All right. So I know you're starting your the beginning of your senior year. So that has to be exciting. One, that you're going to be graduating soon. So I just want to know, how are you going to school? Are you doing virtual classes? Or are you going in person?
So yeah, so I am actually going to my classes online. In my case, I am going all online, and I know for that some people at UKC, they're actually some of their classes are still in person, or they still have to go in person for other activities. But in my case, my stuff ended up being online for the most part.
Wow. So you got blessed that you can just watch it all online, lay in the bed, eat Twinkies and ding dongs, and takes class, right?
Just about.
Well, awesome. So,
Yes.
tell us, Taylor, about the Ray Peck Pull-Up Project. What it is, and why did you start it?
So the RAPEC project is a social initiative for against injustices revolving around racism and any discrimination of any kind. And the reason why I did it was because I felt like when I was much younger as a kid, I grew up knowing about, the civil rights movement and slavery. But one of the things that you learn as I got older was the microaggressions, the subtle racism, the implicit bias, and other biases that are out there that are so small but make a bit of a snowball effect to what racism is as a whole. And I just was I kind of had a lot of time in my college years to reflect on those moments, and I learned in college what those things were, and with the conversations that I had with my parents and other family members. And it really, for me, it was, what can I do with all this information that I have now? And so I decided to, with my friend, I decided to make the Ray Peck Pull-Up Project to open more dialogue around racism and any other discrimination that comes up or that revolves around that as well.
Okay, all right. And so when you were in school, since you're doing it in your local school district, did you guys have a lot of training in this area, or was there a lack of training in this area, and that's why you created the program?
Yeah, I felt like there was a lack of training around the area. Or, we talked about bullying, but we never talked about it. I didn't feel like we talked about it in the context of racism. And it was just something that I had to realize, or I had to learn later on. When people would say certain things to me, I knew it sounded weird. And when I talked to my parents about it, it sounded weird, but I didn't know why. I didn't know why wrong for people to, say certain things, or to, just have certain biases that, it didn't really make sense to me at the time.
Okay, all right. And so then, a lot of uh, young people would just say, "Oh, that's for somebody else to do." I'm not interested in doing that right now, and then they would just put it off, and putting it off means they would never get to it. So, what made you decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to take the lead on this and put this together, and work with our school district on trying to build some type of program around this.
Yeah, so at the time, so I think the part of what started this was, not only the social justice movements that were kind of reignited this summer, but I also had moments back in 2016 in what was happening in Ferguson, which was, about 3 to 5 hours down the road from Kansas City. And at the time, I didn't know what to say to people who were posting about all the protests and riots that were happening. And, at this time, back fast forward to now, I felt like I'm more mature, and I'm realizing that I have, like other people in my generation, I have a voice and I have a say in this conversation. And so my thing was, what can I do to contribute to this moment and contribute to the movement and to the change that is happening right now.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm glad you're taking taking this on, so what's been the response so far from the local community or your local school district?
Yeah, I've had positive response for the most part. Sometimes I feel almost some shut doors, but I try to keep prying at them to make sure, to kind of put the pressure to hold them accountable or hold others accountable, and make sure that, even if they don't see it yet, I try to make sure, I see it in my own. Sometimes I post a lot of the posts that I put on the Ray Peck Pull Up Project page on my personal page, and from that I've received a lot of great feedback from that, and that keeps me motivated to keep going and keep pushing this initiative forward.
Wow, well, that's awesome, and that's good that you're always going to have somebody that pushes back on it. But it's actually good that you're getting a lot of positive feedback on it, and hopefully you can get it implemented in the school system. So let me ask you this: so Ray Peck, tell us, what does that stand for?
Okay, yeah, so Ray Peck is it's the school, so it's short for Raymore Peculiar, and yeah, it's shortened down to Ray Peck. But if you want to know about the pull up part, so the
Yeah.
pull up is actually, as we kids, we use slang, and pull up in slang means, if I want to see, if you say something that you're gonna if you say that you're gonna do something, and I say, well, pull up then. Like, we say, well, pull up because if you're serious about it, then you're going to show up on what you promised to do. And that's what the pull up that's what Ray Peck Pull Up Project is. It's to tell the faculty and administrative staff to, in a way, pull up, show up for us, show up for students of color and students of all backgrounds.
Sure. Yeah. I absolutely love how you just explained the pull up part. So it means show up, be accountable, stand up, speak for those who can't speak for themselves. Right.
Yes. Yes.
Well, and that's awesome. And I want to make sure that people understand that when you talk about discriminatory practices, you are being very inclusive in talking about not just race, but it could be gender. It could be any type of unconscious bias against someone's hair. Could be because someone's short or tall. Could be against someone's their culture, of course, but a lot of different areas of discriminatory practices is what you're focused on in your program, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have a child that's out there in the Raymore Peculiar area that has a disability, right? And kids pick on them. and they feel shut out. They feel left out. This is what the Ray Peck Pull-Up Project is designed to help bring greater awareness to those things where some people can't speak up for themselves. So this is a great project, folks. And if you can help Taylor and her initiative in the Ray Peck Pull-Up Project, how can they reach you, Taylor?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook, an Instagram, and Twitter page, and you can find us on all of those at Ray Peck Pull Up. So there's no dashes, no periods or anything. It's just Ray Peck Pull Up, lowercase, all lowercase.
All right, on
And,
Facebook,
and
Twitter, and on Instagram, you said, right?
yes.
Awesome. So I'm gonna have that scroll across the screen. And where else can they reach you?
Yeah, just catch me on all those pages. And I have a Gmail right now. It's raypeckpullup@gmail.com, where you can also, and on those pages, on the social media pages and on the email, you guys can, I know I'm open to any constructive criticism or any stories that you're in, any experiences that you would like to share, that I would, if with love to post anonymously on the page, so that way people not only get, I post a lot of terms and a lot of quotes on there, but I really like the stories that I receive too, just so that way, people realize that they're not alone in the struggle that we're all going through as it pertains to our identities one way or another.
Wow. Well, that is definitely awesome. So I understand the motivation behind the work and absolutely love it. Today, what's been the biggest impact that you think you've had so far?
The biggest impact I've had so far is just reaching out to my friends, really. And it's a lot of the people on my friends on Facebook and Instagram. I see a lot of they post a lot of, like I said before, they post a lot of good feedback, and they really like seeing I feel like I've had an impact on them, because they probably never knew that I've had certain feelings like this before, or I've never really expressed any of this before publicly. And I feel like they kind of see a different side of me, that it's like, okay, like, she knows more than she goes to school and she does, or she goes to work, and she's more than what I see her as at work or at school. And that's really, I feel like that's an impact that I feel like that's pretty big for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We say leadership is influence, right? And so you're influencing those people, and they're surprised that, wow, Taylor is very deep in this, and she's passionate about it. And people love when they see you're passionate about something, right? Then they can get involved with it. So
Yeah.
let's do this, and then we're going to continue on with the interview process. But I want to help people understand when we say unconscious bias. I want to help people understand what does that mean in some areas of unconscious bias. So let me give you a couple examples, and Taylor, feel free to add some on this once I'm done if you want to. But let's look at one case. One is affinity bias. This is when, working with people that look like you or share commonalities with you, right? Then you have name bias, right? And again, we're talking about unconscious biases. Sometimes they're conscious, but most times they're unconscious bias. But name bias, that's selecting someone for a job, for a project, for a student activity, are into a school program because of their name or their likely heritage, right? Beauty bias, preferring to select someone for a project or a certain class or a certain something in school because of the way that they look, their attractiveness, their eyes, their hair. Then you have height bias is another one, right? This is, uh, well, height bias is kind of self-explanatory. It's just you're selecting someone based on or discriminating against someone based on their height. Generally, people will assume that the person that is tall has leadership potential. They have power. They have strength. They have other intelligence that shorter people like myself may not have. Now, that's a bias. So you may not think of those things as being a bias, but it is. Did I capture that pretty good for you, Taylor?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, awesome. Well, so let's keep going here. I want to ask you some more questions here to better understand you and let the audience get to know you. And because we know once people get to know who you are, meaning someone in the area that doesn't know who you are, then they will get to one like you and then potentially get involved with your project. We know that people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. So we want to help people get to know Taylor, so then they can buy into your vision. So if we looked 10 years from now, Taylor, what do you see in your life?
So, apart from psychology and pursuing a career in psychology, one of the things that I have noticed and one of the things that I want to do in 10 years from now is possibly open a grocery store in Kansas City that is like a Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, like kind of grocery store in the middle of Kansas City. I say that because I want that to happen because when we look at, so a lot of the high salty and sugary foods, they cause a lot of adverse feelings like stress, depression, anger, anxiety, and things like that. And what we see in those areas in pockets of Kansas City or any cities or urban cities around the country is food areas placed in there. And I want to do is there is a healthier option and but show why it's important to have a healthy lifestyle. And not only that, but challenge, the restaurant areas around to, make their options more healthier for customers like us or customers of, Black and minority groups.
Okay, all right. So you're an entrepreneur at heart.
Yes, something like that.
Okay, all right. Well, that's awesome. Well, you're absolutely right. You see in urban areas a lot of fast food joints with, high fat content, greasy foods, and less healthy options in those areas. So that's awesome that you want to that you want to do that. So that's interesting again for a person that's so young, and it's admirable first of all, but it's interesting that you want to do that. So obviously there must be something or someone that inspires you. So who inspires you the most and why?
I would say it's inspired me the most because of when, seeing where they've come from and where they are now. And it's really, for me, it's been inspiring because, a lot of the opportunities that me and my brothers have and have had growing up is because of my parents. So shout out to mom. Thank you for raising me and helping me be the person I am today.
Well, that's awesome. And part of it cut out. You said your parents are the ones that inspires you.
Yes, my parents. Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, shout out to your parents for inspiring you to, one, be an entrepreneur, two, to be a community activist and start programs like the Ray Peck Pull Up Project. And I know we invited people to find you, and you can see her email on the screen. You can see her Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter handles scrolling across the bottom of the screen. But do you want more help, or do you need more help?
I think I could use more help, or just at least I could use a little bit more to what my Ray Peck Pull Up project is, and yeah, just getting the message out there even more. You know I want it to be the Ray Peck Pull Up project, but I also want it to also spread out to other areas within the Kansas City area, and hopefully spread that further out to other areas that are beyond Missouri, whether that's all across the country.
Wow, well, that would be awesome to have that project in other areas of the country. That would be awesome. So, what was your favorite subject in school and why?
My favorite subject in school was psychology, or it was and is psychology. And it was because, and the funny thing is, when I first came across psychology, it was on social media. And eventually I would take a class in high school where it was just all about psychology. And I immediately, fell in love with it because it had a lot to do with the mind and behavior and, just why we act the way we do. And I just thought that was really interesting for me. And when I went to college and took another similar psychology class, it got me even more excited because it opened the doors to different aspects that really, really have an impact on us as a whole.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So while I'm thinking about this, I want go ahead and do a watch party on your site, and then we'll ask you some more questions here. So I want
Okay.
your people
Okay.
in your area to know who you are. So while she's pulling up the Facebook page and she's going to start a watch party on her page, we're talking with Miss Taylor Watts, who is from Kansas City, Missouri. She's a senior at the University of Kansas City, Missouri. Oh, wait, make sure that's right. Yeah, University of Missouri, Kansas City, rather. She's a senior, majoring in psychology with a minor in chemistry. And young Miss Taylor Watts founded a program called the Ray Peck Pull-Up Project. And this project is designed to help advocate for dialogue around race, racism, unconscious bias, and conscious bias, and also to help with discriminatory practices in her the school district that she graduated from. And folks, I want you to understand that when she talks about bias, conscious and unconscious bias, she's not just talking about race. She's talking about all forms of discriminatory practices and bias, whether that is race, whether that's height, whether that is gender, and there's a lot of different forms of bias. And she wants to bring more awareness to this. And in every community, you may have a child that is that has some type of disability, and they get picked on in school. You may have a student that is slower than other students, and they get picked on in school. You may have a child that is of a mixed race, and they get picked on in school. You may have a child that may be, really tall, much taller than everybody else, and people call them all kind of names because of this. You may have a child that is heavyweight, and people call that person names. You may have a child that has a lot of different disabilities, ailments, issues, and they get picked on. And what Taylor is saying, that's not right. And that the school system should help provide a safe zone for those students, right? And that's what the Ray Peck Pull-Up Project is about. So I don't want you to get caught up and think that it's only just about race. She wants to be inclusive and help the school district develop more policies that are supportive of people of different types, different kinds. Everybody has something that's different, right? And we know in schools, children can be very mean and vicious. So if you have a daughter or a son in the Ray Peck school system and they're suffering from any of these things, that's what Miss Taylor Watts is working on. That's her project, the Ray Peck Pull-Up Project. You have all her contact information on the screen, and you can reach out and lend some assistance. You can learn more from Taylor. You can, obviously everyone could always use financial support to help make this cause noteworthy. Perhaps you have connections that may help her be able to spread this message around to local businesses as well in the area. And she has a good relationship with the superintendent, and that superintendent has been open and responsive to Taylor. But you can always use additional help and hands to move this initiative forward. So that's what we're talking about. So you started the watch party?
Yes.
Awesome. So let's keep going here. So, we've all had successes in life, but we've also had some important lessons that come out of difficult experiences, right? So give us an example of a problem that you faced, and how did you overcome it, and what was the lesson that you learned from it?
So right now, one of my biggest challenges right now is taking my science classes right now in college. In high school, it was easy. It was kind of it was a little bit of a breeze, but in college, it was a whole different story, and it really I had times where I had to, just take a breath and walk away from my homework and just say, this is it for tonight, or I did what I did on the test, so I got to throw my hands up and surrender. And one of the things that I've had to do, one of the things I've learned is to not only give myself grace, but be flexible, and also just really ask for help, really, because a lot of the times, I felt somewhat independent, and being the oldest kid, I got help from my parents, but at some point, you're on your own, kid. So, so I had that kind of that mentality for a minute, and what I had to realize is that I kind of had to humble myself and just get the help that I needed, and just ask for help, and talk to different people that were in my class about what we were doing in class.
Well, yeah, college is different. The professor is not going to keep reminding you, hey, the project is due, or you have a test coming up. It's like, hey, you have to get it done. And you're right. Sometimes you have to humble yourself and say, you know what, I need a little bit of extra help here.
Yes.
Well, awesome. So do you have a mentor?
Yes, I have a mentor. My mentor is Deanna Keith, and
Mhm.
she's just been really helpful, just reaching me out to people and reaching me out to you, and just talk to me about that I can do to help the Ray Peck Pull-Up Project become more than, what it is at the moment. And, I just really want to, shout out to Deanna, Keith, thank you so much for just helping me kind of gain some momentum and some confidence to really keep this going.
Well, that's awesome. So having a mentor is always good. And, one of the things we always say, if you have a mentor, then listen to your mentor. And it's good that you are listening to her. So it's awesome. And I know we've had a couple of really dynamic conversations, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to talk with you. So now I'm going to turn that question around. Who are you mentoring?
At this time, I'm not really mentoring anybody, but in the future, I'd be more than happy to mentor somebody.
Awesome. So then I'm going to give you one challenge. So find one student that you can mentor. And that could be a college student, that could be a high school student. Find one student that you can mentor, because you have a lot to help people with, and just have conversation with them and maybe help them through something that they're going through. So, it's always good to, if people pull you up, then now it's your turn to pull somebody up. So I'm going to give you a challenge to find one student.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
All right. Awesome. So if you could list 2 or 3 things that adults can help your generation with, what would that be?
One of the things that I really think is important for the older generations for talking, communicating with us, is to listen. Just listen, and just try to put yourself in our shoes, because right now, as a generation, some of us are kids, like small, young kids, and then, another group of us are teenagers, and then there's another group of us and we're young adults. And a lot of what, where at the stage we are at right now is, when we see a problem, we want it done just as much as the older generation wants it done. We want it done now. We want it done our way or the highway. And I think one of the important things is, we just want to be heard. And I think a lot of the times is, just take us seriously too. And because we're young, it feels like we're often underestimated, and they sometimes we just get our emphasis gets dismissed over as a whole. So I think one of the important things that I wish, adults of older generations is to, just listen to us and just put yourself in our shoes and where we are at the moment.
Okay. All right. I like that. Last time I'm going to write this down. Awesome. So now let's do a quick round of would you rather.
Okay.
All right. So would you rather be best friends forever with your favorite celebrity, or date your celebrity crush for only 2 years?
Ooh. I think I would rather be best friends with best friends forever with a celebrity.
Okay.
Just like, I don't know about, like, yeah.
Okay. All right. So would you rather have $1 million in Amazon gift cards, or $100,000 in real money?
Mm, well, I think $100,000 in real money, just because I could use that. And since I learned about personal finance, I could probably invest it into Amazon and it will just go back up exponentially.
Okay, I like
Hopefully, at
that.
least. For me.
I like that one. All right, so two more. Would you rather pick the year that you die or pick the way that you die?
Um, shoot, I would rather probably pick. That's a really hard one. Maybe the way. I have a little bit more choice with that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you don't want to know the year because then you're thinking all year long, when is that day? I know it's this year, but when is that day? Right.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
okay, here's the last one. This is a good one. Would you rather have free Apple products forever or free Wi Fi wherever you go?
Oh, now that's a really hard one because I have a bunch of Apple products already.
Yeah, and think about all
So
the new stuff
that,
that they come out with.
yeah, yeah. Uh, I think the Apple products, just because I already have it, and then I probably just will pay. I'll figure out the Wi-Fi somehow.
Okay, all right. So what did you learn in high school or college that you think will help that will help you make an impact on the world?
So one of the things that I learned, one of the most important things I learned is mindset is everything. Yeah, a lot of the times, whether we are aware of it or not, mindset is really important, and it could be the difference between a fixed mindset, perfectionism mindset,
Hmm.
or a growth motivational mindset. So, for example, a fixed mindset could be I failed this test and therefore I am a failure in all aspects of my life. And that's not the case, right? Like you
Right.
may not be, but in that moment you have that fixed mindset of I will never get better than this just because of this one moment. And the other side of that fixed mindset would be perfectionist mindset, and that could be another example in a person wants to start a business but wants all the conditions to be right, and the conditions aren't going to be perfect. And as long as you realize that, then you probably will never start that business. And
Yeah.
and so we go to that other side, and it's the growth and motivational mindset. And that's, let's say that a different person failed the test, but instead of saying I'm a failure, they're saying, okay, what did I do wrong, and what can I do better so that way I can get a better grade in the future. And the other side of that, on the other flip side for the business aspect is, okay, I want to start this business. I don't have everything right now, but I still want to get this started. I still, I need a starting point for the business to grow somehow.
Yes. I love that. Growth mindset versus fixed mindset. I think I can have you come to my leadership academy and teach some people around that. It sounds like you know a lot about it, so that's awesome. So, give us two or three unique qualities that set you apart from the crowd. What makes Taylor different from everybody else?
I I think I'm resilient, accountable, and I'm a bit of a quiet storm.
Okay.
As far as yeah, as far as like people sometimes people just see me as this, little shy girl. She just keeps to herself, and she just doesn't really say much. But when I get comfortable and I'm in my most natural state,
Mhm.
I am this confident person, or I'm a bit of a firecracker. I will say what I need to say, and you just got to take it as it is.
Okay, well that is that's perfect. That's awesome. So you're resilient, you're accountable, and you're a quiet storm. I love those three. So she said she's resilient, meaning she knows how to bounce back. She has grit. She knows how to get through, and then she's accountable. That means she holds herself accountable for her actions. When she commits to something, she holds herself accountable for those things. See, you guys out there, talk about those Gen Zers, but here's one that's resilient, that's accountable, that's a quiet storm, that's doing things to make an impact on the world. So if you can help Taylor Watts with her Ray Peck pull-up project, financial support, maybe you're in the local area and it's human resources support, reach out to her. Her information is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. I'm going to put her email back up there as well, so you can see that. You can reach out to her. We believe that the children are our future, right? We need to teach them well and let them lead the way. See, I could sing, but I'm just going to talk it out. And help where you can help them pull up. She said earlier, what is one thing? I asked, what is one thing that adults could do to help her generation? Listen, she said. They want to be heard. Don't dismiss their actions and what they're doing, right? And put yourself in their shoes. What would you do when you were her age? Didn't you want to have that fire to go out and be resilient and be accountable and take action? Well, that's what Taylor is doing. And she just needs your help. So, Taylor, if there were one thing only that you could change in the world, what would that be?
Ooh, I would say balance. Just having that perfect balance between not only my personal life, personal life, work life, and school life, because a lot of those times, they just, whether it's me or anybody, I know that they just intersect sometimes, and it can be hard to separate all of them. And really, it would just be not only balance, but that time management aspect of balance.
Okay, I like that. All right. So what do you do for fun, Taylor?
Oh man, I love watching movies and TV shows. I like watching Netflix. I love keeping up with a lot of the entertainment related news. And also a little bit too. I'm not really huge on sports. I'm kind of more on the gossipy part of sports, but I listen to it all. Just so I can get a well-rounded look at everything. And it really, the sports is more to keep up with my brothers and my dad, because they talk about it all the time at home.
Okay, all right. But so do you have so you don't necessarily have a sports team?
Chiefs, hometown.
Oh, the Chiefs. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yes,
Okay. Well, and they're playing tonight, actually. Um,
yes.
and I don't necessarily pull for the Chiefs, but I'll be pulling for them tonight to beat Baltimore Ravens. But everybody
Okay,
that knows me knows I'm a diehard Pittsburgh Steeler fan. So, um, good luck to
okay.
go
Just
Chiefs.
At least.
Yeah, just for the night, yes. So what advice would you give to your fellow Gen Zers?
I would say, and these two things are might kind of clash with each other, but I would say be patient and be consistent.
Oh,
Just because,
wait,
just
hold on. Say those two again and say them louder because I want to make sure that
okay,
Gen Z is
right,
yes.
yes, okay. So for not only me, but everybody, me like my age and younger, or my age and a little bit older. My advice for us Gen Zers is to be patient and be consistent, because the thing is, we want it, like I said before, we want it now, and it is my way or the highway. And the reality is that we're just gonna have to, make sure we can all meet in the middle, and that's part of the act of being patient. But the other side of it is, to be consistent, and really, make sure that that part is really being accountable, and saying, hey, have you done it yet? Are you still working on that? Or, I'm doing this, so what are you doing to make us work together? So yeah, my overall thing is really just be patient, be consistent. And the other thing is to really just stand in your truth. Whoever you are, who you just know who you are, and just be able to say, like, this is who I am, this is what I need, and we need to figure out how we're going to make this happen.
Awesome. I really love that advice. That's wow, that's awesome. That's adult level advice that you're giving to your fellow Gen Z. So that's awesome. And just in case you missed that, folks, she said be patient, be consistent. She said also be accountable, but then stand in your truth. Now, the question that I have for Taylor and that I have for all Gen Zers is your dream your dream? Or is it somebody else's dream for you?
Mm.
You see, it has to
Right.
be your dream. When it's your dream, you're going to go for when it's your dream, it's going to be the wind beneath your wings. When it's your dream, it's going to keep you up at night. When it's your dream, it's going to get you up early in the morning. Nobody's going to have to put an alarm clock for you. Nobody's going to have to say, hey, wake up. That's how you know if it's your dream or not. If all of those things, if it's the wind beneath your wings, if it wakes you up early in the morning, it keeps you up late at night, then you know it's your dream. When it's not your dream, it's going to weigh you down. On Wednesday at 4 o'clock, you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. You see, then you know that's not your dream.
Yeah.
When people have to force you to do it, you know it's not your dream. So all my Gen Zers out there, make sure your dream is your dream. Now, let me tell you what, it can't be Big Mama's dream. It can't be Papa's dream. It can't be Uncle Bubba's dream. It can't be Cousin Skeeter's dream. It has to be yours. Now, you love all of those people, and I love them too. But when it's their dream, you're not going to want to do it all the time. So it's important that you live what Taylor said, stand in your truth. That's some powerful words, Taylor. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So only a couple more questions. You were finna say something?
No.
Okay, just a couple more questions. So according to you, how important is education in your life?
When I think of how important education is to my life is, in many times in history, we've seen that knowledge is power. And that we can go all the way back to a little bit before the Renaissance time, where, only the religious leaders were holding the doctrine and knew how to read it. And it wasn't until the common people were learning how to read that, and they were able to interpret it in different ways and say, hey, like, what can we do something with this a little bit more, or can we do less with this? Or, they found ways to communicate within the lines of the doctrine or out of the lines of the doctrine. And then, we fast forward into slavery, and where slaves were secretly taught how to read. And in that time, once slaves were learning how to read, they ended up obtaining this power and opportunity to, use that in a way that would, change the course for what, the state of our country was at the time. And this still shows up again into our lives. What we don't know is going to hurt us. And if we don't know that, then we don't know how to, change the world that we see and change it in the lens that we are seeing. So I believe that knowledge is power. It is shown many, many times. And yeah, that I think that's why we need it. And the gaining of information and knowing how to use it and apply it.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that. So, last question for you, and then this is the last question, and then what I want you to do is to tell the audience how they can get involved with the Ray Peck Pull Up Project. So, if there was a book that was written about you, what would the name of the book be, and what would the summary of your book say about you?
Okay, so yeah, my book would be called Tale of Two Cities: Living in a Black and White World. And I say that because when I was growing up in the Kansas City area, I say the Kansas City area because not only did I would go back and forth on weeks and weekends between Kansas City and Raymore. And if like I was going in between two different worlds, as far as going, whether when I was younger, we would go to church in a predominantly Black church, and then that would be my weekends. That would be what I would do. And then during the week, I would be going back to Raymore, and it was a predominantly white community. And so it was two different things, two different worlds that I was living in. And I felt like I was just I felt like they were just really clashing sometimes. And I didn't realize it, how much it was clashing, but I see, now looking back on it, I see that. And I think that's what I think of part of my life was, a tale of two cities. And it was two versions of, Kansas City that I was seeing.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And what would the no, I'm sorry. How can someone reach you, and why should they reach out to you about your project?
Yeah, so I would say, again, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and email me at raypeckpullup@gmail.com. And oh, can you give me the last question? I kind of
Oh, just so why should they reach out to you
yes.
about your project?
Okay, yeah. They should reach out to, because the thing is, I have a big net to cast, and I'm talking about things that sometimes relate to just of my identities, just being a Black female. And the reality is that there's more, and I'm trying to do more, but I need different perspectives to kind of push the message out, more and better and more efficiently. So, I could use all the help that I need. And I really hope that you guys follow the page and just contact me and just let me know either, just let me know how much, if I've inspired you, or, you guys inspired me to keep going. Thank you so much. And, just let's work together.
Awesome. Well, that is awesome, Taylor. Thank you very much for being on the show tonight. Folks, reach out to Taylor. Her information is scrolling. Is actually her email is on the top at the bottom of the screen. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Tomorrow night we're gonna have another young person with us in the audience. Tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern time, we're gonna have Miss Jessie Terry with us in the studio. So tune in to hear her. Then tomorrow night at 6:30 Central Time, tune over to the Black Entrepreneurs, to the Empowered Living channel on Facebook. And, the Black Entrepreneurs live show will be on at that time. And we're going to have a really dynamic show on tomorrow night as well. Then come back here at 7:30 Central Time and listen to Talk with TK as she talks through her Mindset 180 Academy. And it's all about mindset, what you think and what you do. My radio show, Talk Leadership with Cedrick on the radio, happens every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time at ibgr.network. And next week, folks, so we start October, and the month of October is about executives. So we're going to have a lot of executives with us throughout the month of October. And we're starting off with the biggest one of them all. Mr. Paul Martinelli will be my first executive guest on next Monday night at 6:30. So make sure you tune in for that interview. Wow, it is going to be a dynamic interview. You don't want to miss that. So I'm going to leave you with, folks, what I leave you with every week. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Don't be on the menu. I'll see you tomorrow night for another version of Talk Leadership with Cedrick. Good night.